What is up, folks? This is Acid Roots, so I've got another movie commentary to buckle down with. So we're going to talk about Alien vs. Predator. Now, the thing about it is I got this movie from my local library, so I don't know what version it is. I don't know if it's the unrated extended version, but on the title screen where I'm at right now, it also says play extended version. But I'm just going to play the normal movie just in case, so we don't get confused by which version it is, because the library doesn't say. It just says Alien vs. Predator. But alright, so basically you can follow along. There should be 6 options here, so it should say language selection, scene selection, play extended version, special features, and inside look. But I'm just going to go to play, and that's how we'll hit up the movie. So, alright. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then go, and when I say go, you hit play, and then you can follow along the movie, and I'll talk while the movie's playing, so you'll get some extra commentary. Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. So, I'm not going to do the whole movie once again. I mean, that's typically what I do now, is just try to wrap things up, but I might down the road. I don't know if, don't hold your breath for it, but at least you have some valid entertainment, all things considered. So that kind of happens to be the thing there. So I have not seen this movie in a long time. I did see this, and I also saw Freddy vs. Jason back when those movies came out in theaters, but it's been a while. I had no recollection of this movie, and I figured it'd be a nice touch just because there's been Alien and Predator video games, and it's kind of similar to Doom, and I had a taste for Doom. Doom was a pretty fun movie. So it's another science fiction one, and yeah, I do feel like it's a neat theme and that sort of stuff. So, but the thing about it is I looked at the slogan of this movie. I think it was probably on the poster for the promotion of it and that sort of thing, but it said, "Whoever wins, we lose." So I kind of like that, just because it's essentially 2 villains fighting each other and then probably finishing off the winner afterward. They both probably want Earth, and it just kind of comes down to trying to come out the victor. So I like the panned out option to kind of discover. What they're going to do. It's pretty sick. I mean, most movies don't have a premise like this. Just right off the bat, having 2 villains that are going to spar off with each other. It's good. I mean, it was definitely clever for 2004. So, and they did make a sequel to this movie. I thought about doing Requiem also, but I don't know if I'd have to watch the rest of this movie to understand what happened in that movie. But yeah, so basically there's a pyramid in Antarctica. So it's an ice pyramid, and it's underneath the ground, and it's believed that that was one of the first civilizations. So, and they're going to discover it, but they're in for more than what they bargained, obviously. But, of course, I have not seen the other Alien movies. I saw the first Alien. I think it came out in the 70s, but I've never seen the Predator ones. But I have seen, like I said, I have seen this movie. But, losing my train of thought. Yeah, so I have, faint knowledge of this series and stuff. But I do like the Predators. There's this scene in the Family Guy television show where the Predator attacks some dude. There's the Predator was at a dinner table with this guy, and the guy slapped his drink off the table, and it pissed off the Predator, and he shot him. It was the funniest thing. I still find that funny. But Predators are just funny just because they're so expressionless. Ultimately they're kind of moronic, but they're kind of not at the same time. I mean, the only reason why I would say they're moronic is just because this movie, it needs to be made again in 2021 or 2022 or something. And It's kind of like watching a cheesy 80s or 70s movie. It's kind of obviously it held true back then. That's just kind of the thing. But I still like this movie. I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure at this point. I mean, it's not supposed to. I mean, the budget behind it is impressive and the stuff they did with it, but I guess maybe it didn't get like the most rave reviews. So this is kind of, but then a lot of movies are like that. Freddy vs. Jason, I think, got like a 1 star out of 4 or 5. So these kind of movies that just are gung ho on the action, it just happened. I mean, there are plenty of movies that I've seen from the 2000s that just were crap movies, but that was kind of the point. I mean, the 2000s had some crap movies in it, but they held true. It was basically a better version of Netflix and chill. You just hung out and watched Freddy vs. Jason, or you hung out and watched Elektra or some shit like that. And there's plenty of those movies. It's just like whatever. It was Netflix before Netflix. That's kind of the thing. You don't need to be watching movies like The Revenant and 4-star movies all the time. So, but yeah. So in other words, I don't think this movie got any Oscars or Academy Awards or something like that. But that's all right. But yeah, I would never go to Antarctica. I have no desire. I'll definitely tell you that. This is one of the last places I would want to go. I don't want to go to Alaska either. I'm from the United States, but I wouldn't want to go to Alaska. There's bears, polar bears. The moose are not very nice. Things like that. Wolves. I mean, there's just 50. I mean, unless you're really like a nature inclined person, there's not an overabundance of reasons to even want to go to Alaska or Canada, northern Canada, or Antarctica, or any of those places. Plus the temperatures, so it's just, But I'm not necessarily a city slicker either. I don't live in a big city, so it's just kind of, So I can just tell that guy right there, the guy that's talking to that black chick, I can tell that he's probably going to die. It just feels, I mean, the character, they do that sometimes in horror movies. It just feels like it's set up that something's going to happen to him. But, but, yeah, so I'm trying to think of other things that have been kind of going on. Acid Roots has been kind of quiet. I mean, I'm always going to be kind of just updating back and forth on that channel just because it's just getting tougher and tougher. I mean, that's like, that's what you got to understand is YouTube is just becoming, it's, you have to really kind of convince your audience to stick around because otherwise they might watch like 10 videos a month or something like that, but it's just kind of, you gotta give them a reason to stay. You have to have those anchored videos that can kind of do that, and it just kind of seems to be getting more difficult heading into the, further. But Acid Roots is actually from 2014. I made this channel 7 years ago. I'm just starting to put new life into it now, but I need to turn up the volume. I turned it down, but it goes back and forth between booming and kind of quiet, so. I wonder if there was a video game to this movie. It seemed like there might have been. I'm just trying to. I guess there might have been a movie for the Mummy video game. It probably came out for the PS1, but I mean, obviously, I don't know if it was like a complete solid game, but it might have been decent. So. I'm just trying to find more movies to do. I feel like this is really like up this channel's alley. I feel like this is the kind of blend that you need to see on here because I could do, I mean, this would be weird for me to kind of traverse into like a historical or some sort of movie like that doesn't at least somewhat pertain to video games. So it's kind of like a half blend. Maybe there wasn't a game based upon this, but it's still themed enough to where it got the sense of action that makes it interesting. So yeah, the predators basically make short work of these guys. This is, and obviously because they're alien species, but this is kind of the whole thing. They have no clue what's getting ready to happen at all. I mean, it's not like they would, but I mean, I mean, the kind of thing about this is it's just entirely built upon whether or not the fact that there's anything else that could be foreign. I mean, even people from today that are not actually in a movie in real life understand that seeing something like this would indicate that maybe this was a foreign entity. This is kind of the thing. If you were to think, okay, you'll see later on that some of this stuff starts to point to the signs that maybe this was something foreign. It's kind of like some of those statues that are some of the wonders of the world, that like those Easter Island statues and stuff. I mean, it just seems like those had to have been aliens that did something like that. And I don't know for certain, but sometimes those things are so stupid to the point where, I mean, it was either that ancient races were like ingenious with the archaic shit that they did, or it was something else. So this is just so mysterious, and it's moronic. I mean, it's very sophomoric and pedantic, but I'm just like, whatever. So, but it's just it's food for thought, you know. I mean, what would you think if you were to see an ice pyramid that were on Antarctica? I mean, it'd be kind of weird. I mean, at first it would seem like maybe it's believable, but later on, I mean, that's how they're kind of trying to tie it in, is to make it seem like it's believable and stuff. But obviously, it is fictional. But I like the idea behind it. So. This chick right here, she actually has, like, I mean, she's probably the most logical of the ones, and you know, you would think that people should probably be listening to her more, but they don't. Because obviously, if she were to have been in command, maybe some of those folks wouldn't have died. I think maybe a few would have, but it seems like she's professional. I get the feeling she probably has some good money and ties to this film. So, but I probably need to read the Wikipedia on this movie. That might have helped just to kind of understand the plot even further, because they all just seem like scientists and geographers. But yeah. I'm kind of thirsty. As a matter of fact, I need some Powerade. That would, yeah. Those are very pungent drinks. Oh, it just so happens I have a Powerade in my bedroom. How convenient. So, I'm gonna drink my red Powerade real quick. But, I think there have been reboots of Alien movies. I mean, I need to kind of pay attention more. I want to see some of the Predator ones, but I mean, the Predators are more advanced. Aliens are just kind of like the feral, animalistic kind of ones. But Predators are at least humanoid and make like cognitive decisions, which is kind of the thing. Um, Like, yeah. I'm almost thinking, I wonder if, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in Predator. I think that he might have been. I don't recall. I want to say that he was. It was someone like that. John Claude Van Damme, one of those dudes, was in Predator. Probably don't even remember what she said now. She could be like, "Oh, what was rule number 2?" And it's like, always carry a gun. Uh, yeah, I wonder if they really did film this in Antarctica, though. I mean, it's obviously somewhere snowy, but I wonder where their budget went. Huh. Huh. Yeah, this movie is just like Doom. I mean, it really is. I mean, Doom was set in the future, but I kind of like this one also. This is another. This is probably another movie that, if you're looking for something similar to it, this is probably right up its alley. And that's kind of how I feel about movies sometimes. Is when I like a movie, sometimes I want to see something similar to it. Maybe not the same actors, maybe not the same plot, but something similar in the same aesthetic. And sometimes it feels like movies don't know how to do that. I mean, everything is just, if you like the movie, back in the day, you just watch that movie again. But sometimes you want like another thing based upon that theme. This is kind of difficult to get. So, and that's kind of just where movie sequels come from. Is it's like, okay, this is just the second Jason movie or something like that, second Predator movie. But yeah, and they did make a sequel to this. Like I said, it's Requiem. But yeah, I wonder what kind of money, if this sort of stuff were actually real, that you would score from discovering an ancient pyramid like this. It's got to be something. I mean, that's probably what some geologists get into it for, is just thinking, oh, I'm going to find like dinosaur bones and become like worth like $35 million or more, something like that. But I don't know. This is kind of, I don't know who would be interested in such a thing. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't, but this is kind of. And regardless, I mean, if it were, it would be pretty cold. I mean, so it's just, but whale bones. That's a whaling station. That's what they were showing. So I don't like whales. I'll admit. That's a fun fact about me. I don't really like them. But so, yeah, it's almost April Fool's Day. It's got a couple more days. And it's almost the year anniversary of me consecutively doing videos on this channel and trying to figure out what I want to do in celebration of that. Be interesting to kind of do, but I guess this can kind of be like the premature celebration for such a thing, you know. But let me check something here. All right, no big deal. So, strangely enough, this CD or this DVD did not work on my Xbox One, but it did work on the PlayStation 2, which is strange. Couldn't figure that out because you'd think the Xbox One would have a more advanced disk drive to be able to read the disc, but it didn't. And then, of course, I thought that maybe the disk drive of the Xbox was broken, and then the second movie I tried putting in the Xbox didn't work either. So that pissed me off. And I was like, oh, I guess the disk drive for the Xbox just doesn't work. But then I tried popping in a video game, and that worked. And then after that, I tried a third movie, and then that worked too. So I guess I just had two movies in a row that chose not to work on the Xbox. But it does, yeah. This movie does work on the PS2, but then the funny thing was I was gonna do the movie The Crow. I was gonna do a commentary on that like last month, but it only worked on the Xbox. So I don't know what's going on with these disk drives, how they're selective and which ones they choose to work on. But The Crow didn't work on the PS2, but it did work on the other one. So so I'm trying to figure out other things to kind of keep talking about. I'm kind of. Yeah, so that's like a perfectly drilled hole. And so yeah, basically as you're gonna see, it's the aliens that are in the pyramid. That's kind of the situation there, and the predators are the ones that are trying to do something with it. But uh, it's just yeah. I don't know. I appreciate the PS2 though. I mean, that's really the thing. It was like a stellar machine. I mean, it really was. I mean, the fact that it plays any movie that's a DVD at this point, and it just continues to breathe life into it, just because it doesn't matter that there aren't still games coming out. There still are uses for it, and it's the same thing with CDs. I mean, it may not be as effective as like the later machines, but it can still at least it's a valid form of entertainment. I mean, you look at it and it's I mean, you can get a PlayStation 2 for probably like $30 now, so this is kind of stellar. I mean, it's very simple. I still don't really have a Blu-ray player. I mean, I did, but it broke. But I don't own Blu-ray movies. I mean, that's kind of you think, oh, that you just told me right there that you're poor. But I mean, what's the point? I mean, really high definition. I mean, it looks slick, the blue cases, and it makes you look richer by having those, but it's essentially you're paying more every single time for movies. That, I mean, as long as you have a plasma TV, it's not really too much of a difference between being able to play them. So, that's the same thing. I mean, the PS3, PS4, PS5, all of them can play Blu-rays at this point, but I don't know. I just never bellied up and decided to kind of keep going. PS2 is just fine. I mean, it's the whole situation. You look at it and simple, but so. But then again, it is kind of retro. I mean, you just have to look at it. You have to be able to say whether or not you I mean, because now retro is like 2006. That's kind of retro and stuff with, some of these Generation Z cats out there and that sort of thing. But it's obviously these people have never heard of a VCR and a cell or a phone that's not a cell phone. I mean, yeah, people had house phones back in 1993 and in 2000 and 2001 the internet was blocked out, or the internet blocked out phones, so you couldn't call anyone when you were on the internet. So this is kind of it's funny. But, yeah, I'm starting to get hungry. I was thinking about, yeah, I think I'm gonna make myself some scrambled eggs. Like, it's not something I do very much, but I kind of forget the process of how to make scrambled eggs. I've done it, but I forget. It's kind of there's certain things that if you don't do long enough, you forget about them. And it kind of bothers me, certain things. But just as gotta keep making those eggs, eggs and bacon. I'm gonna have breakfast at like 10 o'clock at night and shit, but don't really care. So let's fire up some eggs and get that done. I'll probably do that after this. But Yeah, I'm always struggling to figure out what movies I want to do commentaries of on this channel. I mean, it just feels, I mean, I want to do like comedies and stuff just because my vlog channel, Acidic Roots, is based upon comedy, but at the same time, I want to kind of offer some new fields just because it seems like if I were to just do comedies, I'd run dry pretty quickly of ones to do. And I've been down that road. You know, I know watching all the Adam Sandler and David Spade movies and Kevin James and Chris Rock and all those people. I mean, once those kind of run dry, it's stupid. So that's why I'm trying to get all these movies knocked out because, like I said, I haven't seen Alien vs Predator since 2004. So it's been a long time, and I didn't even see the sequel either. So, but but there really does need to be like a Grand Theft Auto movie, though. There was a Max Payne movie, and I remember seeing that, and that was kind of decent. I'd probably give it like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, but I would kind of almost have to say that there needs to be like some version of Grand Theft Auto. I don't know why Rockstar hasn't done that yet. It'd be so interesting because it probably wouldn't even be based upon video games. I mean, you'd have to look at it. I mean, if they can do Rampage, which is off a video game that probably most people don't remember. That game came out like 20 and 30 years ago, so to do that, they should be able to do Grand Theft Auto. I mean, and I wouldn't even, the thing about it is I wouldn't even want one based on Grand Theft Auto 4 or 5. They just need to do like the Claude Grand Theft Auto 3 one. I mean, just getting some asshole that looks like him would probably be the funniest thing. And they could probably do it, you know. They can, yeah. So look at all this fancy stuff the predators have. Huh. That's the point of them. They're predators. But and the thing about the predators are they wear those helmets, but they're actually rather ugly. And that's the thing. And when they take off their helmets, they look as hideous as the aliens species do. Uh, oh, they know something's up. They're starting. The ascent is starting. Or actually, it would be descent because they're going downward. So it'd be the descent is starting. Another movie that's based off a video game that I think needs to happen would be Duke Nukem. That'd be a pretty good one. I mean, yeah, I don't think there was a Duke Nukem movie. I remember those games, kinda. So I'm just a creature of the night. It's just plain as day. It's, it's always fun. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's always fun waking up at like. I used to wake up at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was like so brilliant to do that. This is kind of because essentially, if you wake up at 10 o'clock at night, that means you get breakfast also. Because that's the thing. Some places, some restaurants, they don't serve anything but breakfast at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning. So that essentially means that you get, I mean, technically they're thinking, oh, you must have just woken up. You're a good old boy. Here, have some breakfast. But it's like, no, I've been awake. Some of these motherfuckers, like, is, I don't know. There's just some old-fashioned stuff. I mean, it's 2021. You gotta understand the newfangled atmosphere of, like, just being awake in the third shift kind of department. I mean, there are folks other than freight drivers that are kind of in that realm, and gas station workers. But I don't really know any of these folks' names. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, should have paid more attention. I mean, yeah. I know the Wyland dude's name, but I don't know the black chick's name. She seems like she's one of the mainer characters. I wonder if that's a word. Mainer. Mainist. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of these actors that it's showing that were in this movie. So I'm looking at the box right now, and it's not clicking. I do like the essence of this movie. It's kind of the same way I felt about Doom. I mean, I didn't finish that movie, but I did like the essence behind that also. It ended on an interesting tick, and that's kind of what this one's going to do. I mean, as you get ready to watch the rest of this movie, it's pretty stellar. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that critics may not have liked this, and it may not have won any awards, it still has accurate drive put together. So... Oh yeah, I remember another movie I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about doing The Rock's Walking Tall. I mean, considering how much of a smash hit that The Rundown has been, I would have to kind of say this might be right up people's alley, but I just don't know. I do actually own that movie. I own The Rundown also, but it's something I've thought about doing, but I'm just trying to figure out. I really need like proof that these commentaries are going to start getting like way more successful, because if they did, I would definitely be doing these more frequently, but it's just kind of like a seldom thing at this point because I can't seem to tap into like the next movie that's going to be like a runaway success. So Too late now. Yeah, there's a new Mortal Kombat movie coming out, and I'm trying to. Yeah, this is the sacrificial part. Alright, folks, I think that's good enough. I may do a part 2 to this, but for now I'm gonna uh, cancel out here. So enjoy the rest of the movie if you do feel like watching it as is. But I mean, don't hold, like I said, don't hold your breath for part 2. But c'est la vie.